Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
The information, audio, and visuals you're about to see are intended to provide details of an officer-involved shooting, which occurred on February 19th, 2022, at approximately 10:24 p.m. in the 2000 block of Dayton Avenue. An investigation into the use of force is being conducted to determine whether the actions of the officers were in compliance with law and department policy. At the conclusion of the criminal investigation, all of the details will be released to the Kern County District Attorney for independent review. Bakersfield Police Department officers are equipped with body-worn cameras. The cameras do not capture everything the officers saw or experienced, and do not encompass the entirety of the investigation, which includes witness interviews, forensic processing, and administrative review. Since the adoption of body-worn cameras, the Bakersfield Police Department has released footage of all officer-involved shootings. This footage is being released to the community to provide transparency. This video may contain strong language and graphic images, which may be disturbing to some people. Viewer discretion is advised. On February 19th at 10:11 p.m., the Bakersfield Police Department received a phone call from a juvenile who indicated that domestic violence was occurring at their residence in the 2100 block of Dayton Avenue. Officers arrived on scene and approached the residence. The body-worn camera footage is from an involved officer and begins as officers arrive at their residence.
Hey, somebody's in that car. Brake lights were just on. Hey man, what's going on? Whoa, drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Get cover. 1 Valley, 998.
998, power units, copy.
Power 24.
Power 24 en route. Okay, start that way.
In route.
Is he? I can't see if he's moving.
310.
310-4.
1 Valley, 1 start medical.
10-4.
Is he moving? It's still moving. Show me your hands! Show me your hands! I can't see his hands. I can see one hand. Put your hands on top of your head where we can see them.
Any unit on Dayton for an update?
1,377 right now. 417.
10-9.
This is a code 4. We have him 417. He's still in possession of the firearm.
Officer is code 4. Second time still in possession of a firearm.
Hey, I don't know how many rounds you shot, but go ahead and reload.
Washington 20.
Show me! Show me your hands!
No, it's in with the traffic.
Valley 3, go ahead.
Where's he at?
He's right there by the open door. Yeah, right there.
Is he on the ground?
He's on the ground. I can't see his hands. He's moving around a little bit.
We have him thrown down by the vehicle in the front of the house.
Second time thrown down to the front of the residence.
Just
Let me see your fucking...
show me your fucking hands!
Are we gonna...
Here, I'm gonna move.
Yeah, we're gonna move up. We're gonna move up.
No, wait, he's still got the gun, man. He's still got the gun.
Where's the gun?
Where's the gun? Put your other hand on top of your head.
Now!
Now!
Follow the command!
Alright, I'm with you. I can't see the gun still. I can't see the gun.
It's on your knee. Roll.
Guns at his legs. Guns at his legs.
Officers rendered medical aid to the subject. However, he succumbed to his injuries. A revolver with expended ammunition was recovered. 2 officers discharged their firearms during the encounter. The second officer's body-worn camera was not activated until after the shooting. This is an ongoing investigation. Conclusions about the involved officer's actions with regard to law and policy will not be made until all facts are known and the investigation is complete. The Bakersfield Police Department's use of force policy, including deadly force policy, is available to the public at www.bakersfieldpd.us.
All right. Let's get into it.
.us and administrative review. This viewer discretion is advised from a juvenile who indicated.
So domestic violence calls are probably one of the most dangerous things that law enforcement can go on. There are more, I forget what the statistics are, but if you look at the FBI's statistics for law enforcement officers killed in line of duty, you'll find that domestic violence calls are pretty high up there with the things that cause a lot of injuries and deaths for law enforcement. And it's always pretty much a given that there's going to be 2 officers responding to calls like this because they are such violent, or can have such violent outcomes, dealing with people's emotions, and people can be robbed of all reasonable thinking and acting just based off these intense emotions that they're going through. Obviously, this guy was probably very emotional at this point, and I suspect that this was most likely a suicide by police type of incident. He had the gun. It was a live gun. He obviously had ammo for it, but he fired it all. But why didn't he go ahead and off himself? I don't know. That's one of those things where, we wish we could get a better answer for it. I mean, he could have very easily have, saved one of those rounds for himself, but instead he had to force other people to do something for him that he couldn't do for himself. And I hate that. I hate that, someone will do something like that and force another person to have to make that kind of decision. So, although the person who's doing this, it's sad that they've gotten to that point. However, by them doing this, I'm not just feeling sympathetic for them, but because they've done this, I'm also now feeling mad, I guess you could say, at these people, or disappointed at these people. Like, come on, like if you want to self-terminate, then fine, do it. Don't fucking force other people to have to do it for you. Like, don't put people in that position. That's bullshit. I wish it sounds insensitive to say it like this, but I really wish people who wanted to do this would just go down to the hood and do suicide by gangster instead of doing suicide by police. So he parks a little bit ways down the street, which that is common practice for law enforcement. Now, he does seem pretty close to the house. It's not like he parked a really good distance away, but he did park a little bit of a distance away and then cover the rest of the distance on foot. And We don't get to see exactly, how he's pulled into this neighborhood. It is nighttime. The guy is in the truck. So I would suspect that the guy probably saw the headlights and noticed the taillights after stopping and everything, and was probably looking and trying to see, who was in this vehicle. We see one street light down here, but it does not appear as though there's any street lights down here where this officer's at. So, again, don't know what this other person's mindset is. He could have seen these officers as they've parked and gotten out and known that they were officers, but instead wanted to draw them in to get closer to him. That way he could surprise them, and they would for sure have no choice whatsoever but to use deadly physical force against him. He could have very easily had just gotten out of the truck and started approaching them at this point. Why he chose not to do that, I don't know. Maybe he was taking this time to work up the courage a little bit.
Hey, somebody's in that car. Brake lights were just on.
Okay, so this light has an adjustable bezel on it, and it goes from a square shaped kind of beam, and then it goes to a more round beam. I don't know what the exact manufacturer name for this type of flashlight is. I've had one of these before, and it was purely just a utility light, like an El Cheapo around the house kind of utility light, and it's not good quality whatsoever. These are the kind of flashlights that you would see being sold at a flea market. And in fact, I've seen lights just exactly like this being sold at a flea market. There's no quality to them, and it's sad to see an armed professional utilizing such an inferior product like this. There's a reason why you don't see special operations using flashlights that you could buy at a freaking flea market. There's a reason why you don't see SWAT teams and the majority of law enforcement using cheap-ass flashlights that you could buy at Flealand. And the reason is those things just don't hold up very well. They don't take the abuse. You drop them too many times and they stop working. The adjustable bezel thing on the end to make this light go more focused and flood, that's for this type of application, security or law enforcement, whatever. It's not a good fit. Could it be useful around the house as like an emergency lights out kind of kit? Like the power goes out in your house and you've got some flashlights stashed around the house. Yeah, sure. Something like this could be beneficial. It's cheap. You can adjust the bezel on it and use it to search around the house at night when the power's gone out. Whatever. But as far as trying to perform police and or security functions with something like that, not very ideal at all. You want something that you know is going to stand up to abuse, and you want something that is going to put out a lot of lumens with a very good hot center. And you want that that light to be repeatable. Like, you don't want to have to try to adjust the beam on it to fit your need, to go from a wide out flood to a more precise beam. You want that good hot center beam there, and you don't want to mess with it or try to get it mess with it under stress. But like I said, unfortunately, you will see some armed professionals utilizing this stuff, and these people are skimping on good quality equipment. They're trying to save a buck or two, and you know what? He's probably used this light for some time, and it has worked for him. He just has been lucky enough not to run into a scenario where the damn thing fails. good flashlight companies out there are not going to have very cheap priced products. This is one of those things where you can't really find a good price deal, so to speak, on some of this stuff. You're not going to be able to go down to a flea market and pay flea market prices for good quality stuff. So you're going to have to spend some money on a good piece of equipment. Buy once, cry once. And it's not even producing a very good beam anyway. It's not even a very bright light. Yeah, sure, it's illuminating here, but it's not doing what it should be doing. There should be a lot more intensity right here, but there's not.
Amen.
Boom. Right there.
And whoa, drop the gun! Drop the gun!
So he is holding this flashlight and trying to hold the gun at the same time. This is something that you will see from time to time in some of these videos. So it happens more than what I would like. And I believe this basically goes back to a training issue or a lack of training thereof. This utility light that's in his hand is useless at this point. First off, it's not even illuminating the target. It's pointing down and backwards at him. So anything, it's illuminating him and making him an easier target for this guy to shoot at, even though we find out later that this guy can't shoot because all the rounds are expended in his gun. Secondly, he can't get a good two-handed grip on his gun because his support hand is holding something. What he should have done, that he eventually does, he just doesn't do it right away, but what he should have done right away was just simply drop that light. Drop it, get rid of it. I wouldn't have been opposed if he just went ahead and threw it at the guy. You know, just he's got the light out, the guy comes out, just throw it forward, and then go to gun. Maybe throwing the light at the guy, you know, could buy you an extra second or two, you know, resetting their OODA loop or whatever. But get that out of your hand. It's not doing you any good at this point. It screws up your grip. He's essentially shooting with a one-handed grip at this point. Yeah, he has his support hand up there like he's trying to get a two-handed grip, but it's all jacked up. He might as well just be shooting one-handed right now. And his flashlight's not even aimed at the target. It's pointing at him and it's illuminating him. Drop it, get rid of it. He has a weapon-mounted light on his gun, but it does not appear as though he activates it. Why is that? I don't know for sure, but it's one of two reasons in my opinion. One, it's a training issue. He just has not trained with it enough to have it down as a muscle memory, so to speak, to activate that light and shoot with it. Secondly, it could be that the batteries are dead. And that's kind of a lack of mindset, really. So weapon-mounted lights are great, but they got to work to be able to be great. And when it comes to batteries, I try to tell people to think of batteries like a magazine in a gun. So every time you go to click your flashlight on, that's like pulling the trigger on your gun, and each trigger pull fires a round. Each click of the light fires a round out of those batteries. And eventually you're going to run out of rounds. the more you click the light, the longer it stays on, the battery power is depleting. When it comes to weapon-mounted lights and using them in law enforcement and security, they will get used some. I mean, not shooting at people, but drawing the gun and either aiming at people or aiming into areas where you think there may be people, using them for searching purposes. That will be done sporadically throughout a period of time. So let's say, for example, a 1 month period. I mean, I don't know if there's any statistics on how many times a gun is drawn and used in searches and whatnot, but for a 1 month period, try to think about how many times a gun gets drawn and is used for searching a building, searching around property, used in a scenario like a felony stop, whatever. You're pointing at someone, you just haven't shot yet. It may vary from area to area, but in a 1 month time, there's probably quite a few times that a gun comes out of the holster and the weapon-mounted light gets turned on. Now, are you able to keep track of how many times you've turned that light on and how long the light was on during those times? No. I mean, I guess you could, but it's not realistic. And so, because of that, I believe that it's a good practice to go ahead and switch those batteries out on a rotation. And it's really going to depend on your workload. So if you're law enforcement and you're doing work, right? Like, you know that you pull your gun quite a bit, within a month's time doing different stuff, then you should probably replace those batteries every month, just to be 100% on the safe side that you're going to have fully charged batteries and that they're going to be able to last at least 20 to 30 minutes on constant on. If you're working in the security industry, chances are you're probably not doing as much as law enforcement. So you could dial that back some and change your batteries out maybe on a 2-month basis or on a quarterly basis. But if you're, if you're law enforcement and, you really don't do a whole lot, you work court security or something like that, or, you work in the jail, or you stay in the station a whole lot, whatever, you're not using your weapon-mounted light that much, so you don't have to be changing your batteries out on a monthly basis. You can do what, normal security would do. Change them out on a 2-month or a quarterly basis. If your agency is able to buy those batteries, then great. Utilize that and save a buck or two. I mean, technically, you're still buying them anyway, right? Like, taxes come out of your paycheck, so you, in a way, are buying those batteries. But if the department buys those batteries and you're able to use them, by all means, use them. Switch out your weapon-mounted light batteries on a monthly basis to keep good fresh batteries in there. That way, if you need to click that light on and make sure that light stays on for a good solid 20-30 minutes, then you got that ability to do that.
Drop the gun! Get cover.
So eventually he throws that light. He
998.
998. Power units, copy.
Power 24.
Power 24 en route. 810. Start that way.
In a row.
And you can see the weapon-mounted light on his pistol right here. Now he has retreated back to his vehicle. You can see that this officer over here has also ditched his utility light. And you can see the beam of that light on the ground over here. Now, this officer here eventually says he can't see him while he's standing behind his squad car with a passenger-mounted spotlight. He could have very easily popped the lock on his car, reached in, turned the spotlight on, and provided sufficient amount of illumination at the target over here. For whatever reason, that did not click in his head for him to think about.
I can't see if he's moving.
1 start medical.
Moving. Your heads! Where we could see him!
An update. 10-9.
He's still in possession of the firearm.
Shot, but go ahead and reload.
Alright, so I like how he recognizes the fact that they need to do a reload. So they didn't fire a whole lot of rounds. Why do they need to do a reload? Well, because they're in the fight, and when the fight happens, not only do you experience some physiological changes, but you also experience some psychological changes. And although we can tell that they didn't fire a whole lot of rounds, in fight or flight, you can experience some things such as temporal distortion, where things kind of turn into a blur and you don't remember the exact sequencing of events. You can experience what's known as auditory exclusion, where you don't even hear the gunshots at all, or you may hear muffled sounds of the gunfire. You may even hear random environmental noise, and it becomes more hypersensitive, where you hear that versus something else. And it's more of a distraction kind of thing. And that is the reason why you want to do a reload, because you cannot 100% rely on your own brain, so to speak, under fight or flight, because your brain goes through some changes when the fight or flight kicks in. And if you train yourself to always top off the gun, then even if you only fire 2 rounds, you top it off. That way, if you did end up firing 10 rounds, but you think you only fired a few, then if the fight continues, you can continue with a full fresh mag versus 5 rounds left in the gun. So anytime you fight and they go down, you assess your target, you scan, take cover, and you top off. Do a magazine change. Generally, when working in pairs, working in a team, there can be some, different communication that goes on versus, hey, reload your gun, or yelling, I'm reloading. There are some schools of thought that you don't want to broadcast that information out loud, because then the adversary could hear that. And if they hear you saying, I'm reloading, then they could take that as your gun is now empty, and now is a better opportunity for them to come rushing your position. Some schools of thought are yelling out cover, and then of course your partner can respond with covering. You do your reload, and then once you're back up, you can communicate set, and then the other person knows, hey, that's what's up. Some other code word could be used, prearranged, something set up, whatever. The key is to, with that mindset, have a phrase or a common thing to say. That way, when you say it, the person knows what their expectations are. If you yell, cover, then you know to respond with covering and keep your gun trained on that threat and keep your hyper focus and vigilance on that until you hear set. Then you yourself can do something else. Take cover off that threat because you now know that the other person has cover on them.
His hands, he's moving around a little bit.
Moving on here, we have him slowing down by the vehicle in the front of the house.
Second half slowed down to the front of the residence.
Okay, so this officer who was not originally there has showed up as backup. This officer has responded to this call knowing that he is responding to a shots fired call. We heard him broadcast it on the radio. He knows he's going to a call where there's been shots fired. But yet he still has a pistol. Now, did he have a rifle in his car? I don't know. I have no idea. But if he did have a rifle in his car and he chose to get out with a pistol, then he is wrong for doing that. You always want to bring a rifle to a gunfight and bring your friends with rifles. Rifles outperform pistols every day of the week. Non-negotiable. If his car does not have a rifle or shotgun in it, then the administration of his agency is wrong and they need to change. All cars need to have long guns in them. Preferably rifles, in my opinion, but a long gun needs to be in there. Some agencies may have some budgeting issues, and it may not be easy for them to afford to equip every single car with a rifle. I get that. You know, depending on the rifles and, you know, accessories and stuff, I mean, you're looking at $1,000 for a patrol rifle, maybe even $1,500 for a patrol rifle. Like I said, depending on manufacturer, model, the accessories, etc. That can be, you know, take that times, you know, 20 patrol officers. That could be a lot of money. I get that. But you also got shotguns as an option as well. And, you know, depending on manufacturer, models, and stuff like that, I mean, you could conceivably get 3 to 4 shotguns to one rifle. For what it would cost to give an officer a rifle, buy one rifle, you could buy 3 to 4 shotguns. So there's really no valid, credible excuse for why agencies won't provide long guns to their officers. The reasoning behind why they don't do it is they just have shitty administration. People who are closed-minded and just are not fit for that leadership role. All cops need to have long guns. I mean, it's asinine to think that there's some agencies out there that don't equip cars with rifles or shotguns. But like I said, that's a sign that the administration of that agency is unfit for their position. But like I said earlier, so I don't know if he had a rifle in his car or not, but if he did, then he's wrong for not getting it out.
Just
Let me see your fucking...
show me your fucking hand! Still got the gun, man.
Eyes on it.
735 on progress with the Jack in the Box 10 Union
Roll to
Avenue.
your left. It's on your knee.
So they stopped the video and we don't see much after this. So, you know, I can't really talk about medical stuff. So I have no idea what they did as far as medicine or anything like that. The gun, where's the picture of the gun at? I thought they...
A revolver. This action was recovered. 2 activated. This policy, police department's
Well,
policy, including deadly force policy, is available to the public at www.bakersfieldpd.us. PM. The Bakersfield Police Department received a phone call from a juvenile who indicated
I can't.
officers rendered medical aid to the subject. However, he succumbed to his injuries. A revolver with expended ammunition was recovered. 2 officers discharged their firearms during the encounter. The second officer's body-worn camera was not activated until after the shooting.
so the second officer's body camera, he did not activate it until into the incident. This is why I believe that it is a good practice to go ahead and activate your camera before you get out and start dealing with people. So for this call, as they're responding to this call, as they start to turn onto the road where the house is located, that would be a good time to go ahead and just reach up and hit the event button on the camera and get it to start recording. That way, when you get out of the car and you start mingling with people and doing stuff, it's already recording. And if something pops off, then you don't have to worry about trying to remember to turn the camera on. You don't have to worry about going through the physical part of actually turning the camera on when you need to be task oriented on other things, like, I don't know, fighting for your fucking life. So I think it's just the best practice to go ahead and have that camera turned on well before you get out and start dealing with people, because things can go from 0 to 100 real quick. And cameras can save your ass. They really can. I used to, when they were first coming out, I was a little bit hesitant about them. Wasn't fully on board with them. But after using cameras, man, I wish these fucking things would have been invented a long, long time ago. They're great for showing the truth. They're good for showing what really happened and being able to exonerate yourself. There's a couple things I can think of, going back in time that, it was my word against someone else's word, and that was it. Like, that's the only thing it could be left at. And if we had body cameras back then, hell yeah, I would have loved it, because I would have been able to prove those motherfuckers wrong. So the cameras are good, but the cameras won't save your ass if they're not turned on. Luckily, there was, more than one person here, and there was enough of the scene captured by one of the cameras that, it was a saving grace, for this one, since it didn't get turned on at all during the incident. But like I said, the camera can't save your ass unless you've got it turned on. So turn those cameras on before you get out and start dealing with people. That way, when it goes from 0 to 100 real quick, you ain't got to worry about it. It's already recording. I don't know what they did with the picture, or where the picture of the revolver came up at. I was going to look at it, but I guess I can't. I don't know where they threw it in there at.
Got Bakersfield.
Anyway, so the revolver, it had tape around the handle, which is kind of a weird kind of thing. You typically see that associated with street criminals. They'll put tape around the handle of the gun to prevent fingerprints from getting on the gun. But this was electrical tape, and the electrical tape is still going to retain fingerprints on it. So there's really no sense in putting electrical tape around the handle of a gun to, keep fingerprints off of it, when the tape itself is just going to hold the fingerprints. Anyway, I can't find the freaking thing. So if you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.